Supergod, create Civilization 0. Kesha is stunned. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 201, Dominate the World. As soon as this thought came up, everyone couldn't help but shudder. So strong. If this kid can reach the level of virtual god, then even in the other planes, he should be able to dominate one side, right? Some people were shocked and also a little envious and jealous. They knew very well that that level was nothing in their plane. However, in other planes, he could dominate one side and become a generation of heroes. Such temptation is really too great. This kid is indeed a bit weird, and there are too many secrets in him. No matter which plane he comes from, we can't compete with him. In their minds, such a voice also sounded. Hearing these words, those human geniuses also nodded slightly. For such an ending, they did not have any complaints at this moment. The Heavenly Emperor Realm warriors also cast their eyes on the blood demon puppet. They all wanted to know what exactly this blood demon puppet was, because they had never encountered such a strange thing. Boom. The next moment, when the Heavenly Emperor Realm warriors set their eyes on the blood demon puppet, their pupils suddenly shrank, and a strong fear appeared in their eyes, as if they had encountered something extremely terrifying. The blood demon puppet also raised his fists at this moment. There was a scarlet light on the fist. Obviously, he had suffered a lot of trauma in the collision just now. His seeing this, many human geniuses around couldn't help but take a breath, staring at the former with eyes like looking at a monster. Chapter 202, Extremely Cold. All of this depends on the spear in his hand and his terrifying physical defense. So, if his fighting power reaches a level of half-step Heavenly Emperor, then it is not difficult to defeat the opponent. It seems that this blood demon puppet cannot suppress him. At this time, a Heavenly Emperor's eyes flickered for a moment, and then he sighed and said, 8 or 7, forget it, since this guy's identity is so strange. Let's not provoke him. Let's go first, so as not to cause any trouble. His voice was not low, so everyone present heard it, and some people showed a bitter smile on their faces. They naturally understood the meaning of these Heavenly Emperors. This kind of strange thing is too dangerous. If you provoke some terrifying enemy, then even they will. In this case, let's leave first. Everyone nodded lightly, and then turned around and left the valley, flying to another place. Roar. Just after they left the valley, the blood demon puppets roared again, and scarlet light shone from his fist. Obviously, he wanted to chase them. Swoosh. But at this moment, a sound of breaking wind suddenly rang out, and 3 figures came quickly from that place. The speed of the 3 figures was extremely fast, like a meteor, and in the blink of an eye, they arrived in front of the blood demon puppets. Looking at these 3 figures, the brows of the Heavenly Emperor Realm powerhouses also frowned. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 203, Enough to Compete. At this moment, a sneer full of disdain came from the blood demon puppet. Humph. With the strength of the early stage of the Saint King realm, you actually want to challenge a half-step Heavenly Emperor realm strongman? I really don't know if you have water in your head, or you were kicked by a donkey. This cold word came from the blood demon puppet. Hearing this word, the faces of the people around twitched, and then they couldn't help rolling their eyes. You are the ones with water in your head, and your whole family has water in their genitals. Haha. I want to ask, 21, what kind of brain do you have? You dare to provoke our 3 saints? I really don't know what's wrong with you. Is it because you are too ugly, or because your IQ is too low, so no one will take your behavior seriously? Is that right? Leo Wu. At this time, a series of mocking voices also followed. Beside the 3 saints, there were 3 powerful men, who were triplets, and their strength had all reached the peak of the saint realm. The 3 saints were all saints of the 3 holy temples. These 3 were the best of the young generation of this term, and they were also the future controllers of the 3 holy temples. so their status among these saints was also very high. However, this time, a trace of ridicule and disdain appeared on the faces of these three people. Obviously, they all felt that Lu Xuan's words were extremely ridiculous. Humph. Lu Xuan smiled coldly and said, "Your IQ is lower than that of a pig. You rubbish. Are you qualified to teach me a lesson? You are the ones who should get out, right?" Chapter 204 Cursing. All of a sudden, the three mountains were all blown apart. And Lu Xuan's figure, still without stopping, continued to attack the old 5. What? How is it possible? Seeing that Lu Xuan's method was so fierce, the old 5 was also shocked. His pupils suddenly shrank, and then he dodged quickly. Bang 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 bang. Then, there were continuous collision sounds, and the old 5 was beaten by Lu Xuan. Puff. Finally, when a knee hit the old 5's abdomen, the old 5 immediately spit out a large mouthful of blood, and his body was also shaking violently. How is this possible? How is it possible? This is impossible, the old 5 shouted in disbelief. His face was full of shock and unwillingness. He was one of the three great saints, but he was defeated by such a young man. How is this possible? This is a piece of trash. I can defeat you with only 30% of my strength, Lu Xuan said lightly. After hearing this, the faces of the three saints showed an expression of disbelief. The three of them are all genuine saint kings at the peak level. Now, they are defeated by a teenager who is only about 20 years old. How can they not feel shocked? Boy, don't be arrogant. Chapter 205. Doing twice the results with half the effort. This power should be very beneficial to you, right? Seeing Lu Xuan's excited expression, the saint called Laos and said sarcastically, as if he was mocking Lu Xuan as a fool. Ha ha ha, of course, I'm an alchemist. If I can absorb the energy contained in the spirit stone, it will definitely be twice the result with half the effort, Lu Xuan said with a smug smile. After hearing Lu Xuan's words, the face of the Laosan suddenly sank. He looked at Lu Xuan fiercely and said, "This beast who deserves thousands of knives, I will never let you go." Then the Laosan fled directly to the distance. And the Lao base snorted coldly and also flew away. As for the Lao Jiu, his face showed a resentful expression, but he knew that he could not beat the two saints at all, so he turned around and prepared to escape. He wanted to return to the family quickly to report to the family's masters to deal with Lu Xuan, so that he would not have to worry about Lu Xuan at that time. Want to leave? It's not that easy. The three of you are really rubbish together. If I didn't want to waste too much time, I could have gotten rid of all three of you just now. Lu Xuan pouted. He directly sacrificed the Emperor's cauldron, and a simple and mysterious giant cauldron emerged, and then enveloped the 6, 8, and 9 brothers. Chapter 206 Unique Vision. Although Xiaojua is young, she is very powerful and has entered the 5th level of the creation realm. If it were in the past, she might not dare to talk to Lu Xuan like this, but now. Lu Xuan is her man. Her man must protect his shortcomings, and Lu Xuan will not let others bully his woman, let alone 3 bastards who bully his woman. Boy, I want to see how you kill our brothers. Although the 3 of us are at the peak of the 5th level of the creation realm, this is our territory. In this place, we are the kings, and you are just a reptile. You can only crawl at our feet. Don't think that you kill the 7th brother. We dare not do anything to you. At this time, the 3rd brother also said sinisterly. Lu Xuan said calmly, then let's give it a try. Anyway, I won't let you off easily today. Moreover, I plan to keep all 3 of you here, because I won't allow you to bully my woman. Hearing Lu Xuan's domineering remarks, Lao Wu almost exploded with anger. He was hot-tempered and shouted loudly, "Boy, you are so arrogant. Do you think you can defeat the 3 of us by yourself? Today I will let you taste what regret is." Lu Xuan looked at Lao Wu indifferently and said, "I never believe in the word regret. If I really regretted it, I would have regretted it a long time ago. Since you said I was arrogant, then today I will be arrogant to the end. The 3 of you come together. I want to see what you 3 dogs can do to me." Hearing Lu Xuan's remarks, Lao Wu and the other 2 were furious, especially Lao Wu. He felt that Lu Xuan was simply insulting them. His eyes suddenly burst out with an extremely cold look, and he said to the 3rd brother, "3rd brother, this kid is too arrogant. Don't hesitate anymore. Kill him here quickly. The 2 of us brothers will definitely defeat this kid together." Chapter 207 Give up resistance. Lu Xuan said lightly, his tone full of confidence. The third brother snorted coldly and said, I have seen many conceited guys like you. I advise you to surrender obediently. Lu Xuan said lightly, then come on. You don't have to wait for me to take action. I can also send you to the west. The third brother snorted coldly, his body shook, and then a terrible momentum burst out of his body, and a wave of extremely powerful mana poured into the third brother's 510 body point. At this moment, the third brother's breath rose steadily. In a blink of an eye, the third brother's breath broke through the peak of the 8th level of the realm of creation, and then climbed to the level of the 9th level of the realm of creation. Then two terrifying mana fluctuations rushed out of the third brother's body. The third brother and the 5th brother all broke through to the 8th level of the realm of creation. After seeing this scene, Lu showed a surprised expression on his face. Because Chapter 208 Three Treasures. After hearing the three people's words, Lu Xuan couldn't help but sneer. Lu Xuan didn't plan to give up resistance. He knew if he was really trapped in this big formation, then the final outcome would probably be just one word: miserable. The only way for Lu Xuan to break this formation is to find a way to leave this ghost place. This kid actually reached the 6th level of the realm of creation at such a fast speed. Is there such a genius like this in this world? It seems that the previous rumors are true. The young master is indeed a powerful figure. Chapter 209 Extremely happy, Lu Xuan gave the spirit stones to Li Danio's parents, asking them to help him refine the array plate and array flag. Lu Xuan's parents are also very good at the profession of weapon refiner. Now Lu Xuan gave so many spirit stones to his father to refine the array plate and array flag. Lu Xuan's father naturally agreed with great joy. Lu Xuan continued, now this formation has blocked the space around me, and I can't escape. So I plan to use something to break this formation, as he said. Lu Xuan took out the 7-color dragon pattern tripod. After seeing this treasure, Lu Xuan's parents were also extremely surprised. What is this? It's so big, and it seems familiar. Is it the legendary 7-color dragon pattern tripod? The fourth child said in surprise. The second child also had an expression of amazement on his face. Is it really a 7-color dragon pattern tripod? I didn't expect Lu Xuan to have such a precious treasure. No wonder he was able to walk out of that place. This kid actually holds such a precious treasure. The fourth brother also looked at Lu Xuan in shock. He felt that Lu Xuan was just like a pervert, and each of his treasures was extremely amazing. And this guy's background seemed to be very amazing. He actually controlled something like the 7-colored dragon pattern tripod. This was simply unbelievable. No. This is not the 7-colored dragon pattern tripod. At this time, Lu Xuan's father suddenly frowned and said. After hearing his father's words, Lu Xuan couldn't help but be puzzled, because Lu Xuan's father seemed to have a wide range of knowledge and was quite knowledgeable about the 7-colored dragon pattern tripod. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 210 Refining Success. And Lu Xuan also understood why the restriction in this island could suppress Lu Xuan's spiritual power. It turned out that it contained a powerful mysterious power. However, Lu Xuan still hoped to break through this island, so that he might be able to leave this island. Thinking of this, Lu Xuan's heart suddenly became excited. Lu Xuan took out a few spiritual stones, then put those spiritual stones into the 7-color dragon pattern tripod. Then raised the flame. Then Lu Xuan threw the spiritual stones into the 7-color dragon pattern tripod. As soon as these spiritual stones fell into the 7-color dragon pattern tripod, they burned quickly. The energy contained in those spiritual stones all were absorbed by the 7-color dragon pattern tripod. Seeing this scene, Lu Xuan's father and others immediately showed extremely shocked eyes. Who is this kid? He can even control something like the 7-color dragon pattern tripod. This is a fairy weapon. Even in the fairyland, it is definitely a top fairy weapon. Leo Wu also said with emotion. The 7-colored dragon patterned cauldron is a top grade immortal weapon. Although it is not as good as the Tegu Bagua furnace, bed, and even not as good as the Bagua furnace that Lu Xuan got. However, For Lu Xuan, this 7-colored dragon patterned cauldron is also a very good treasure point. The 7-colored dragon patterned cauldron is a wonderful magic weapon point. Lu Xuan had used the 7-colored dragon patterned cauldron to deal with a king level strongman of the demon clan before. That king level strongman was also a scattered immortal. Lu Xuan suppressed the opponent with the 7-colored dragon patterned cauldron. Chapter 211 Similarities. Then Lu Xuan refined several more immortal swords, and finally refined 3 arrows and 3 spears. Finally, Lu Xuan successfully refined all 3 spiritual weapons. Now, we just need to break through this mountain. Lu Xuan said. After hearing Lu Xuan's words, everyone clicked. Then each used their own methods. Break a hole in the mountain. The mountain began to collapse slowly, and a huge cave appeared. Go in. Lu Xuan gave an order. Everyone rushed towards the cave. After entering the cave, the space inside the cave is very wide, which can accommodate hundreds of people. And this cave is also covered by the formation. So, in the hands of the cave, you won't feel damp and cold. And this cave is also guarded by the formation, so it's not so easy to escape. But in this way, then, Lu Xuan and others will have more time to explore this cave. And in this area, there is also a passage leading to the world below. If someone discovers this passage, they will immediately rush to the passage and then block it. So this passage has not been discovered by anyone for the time being, and Lu Xuan also plans not to tell this matter for the time being. He doesn't want this matter to affect everyone's mood. Because everyone now has their own plan, there is no need to bother other people. Chapter 212 Seeking Opportunities. This shows the original magma essence was also the soul of a holy spirit. Only such an existence can condense a spirit stone. Magma essence is the holy material for refining soul attack spirit tools. So Lu Xuan thought that the magma essence might be born from magma. However, the magma essence was just a mass of magma, not the real magma essence. Now the essence of magma 047 has been condensed into a spirit stone. Magma essence, naturally, cannot be the soul of the magma spirit. The soul of the magma spirit is a spirit stone. Thinking that the magma essence is a spirit stone, Lu Xuan can't help but feel a lot of emotion. This magma essence is really too amazing. If it is refined into a soul attack spirit tool, then it will definitely greatly enhance Lu Xuan's soul attack power. Moreover, chapter 213 Exploring the Skyfire Tree. Lu Xuan nodded, and then he said, "Little turtle, I remember you are a spiritual beast, right? Then can you find out where the Skyfire Tree is? Master, have you forgotten me? Not only can I sense the breath of the Skyfire Tree, but I can also find out how deep this magma lake is," the little turtle said proudly. Hearing what the little turtle said, Xuan couldn't help but widen his eyes and said, "Is it true?" "Of course it's true. When have I ever lied to you?" the little turtle said. "Okay, in this case, then, let's explore the Skyfire Tree now," Lu Xuan said. Lu Xuan took out the map of the magma lake. Then he quickly rushed towards the magma lake. "Master, there seems to be someone arguing in front." The voice of the little turtle suddenly resounded in Lu Xuan's mind. Lu Xuan quickly slowed down and looked into the distance. At this time, he saw that there were actually 2 groups of people arguing in front. One group was a group of young men in golden robes. Each of them had a proud look on their faces, and they were obviously disciples of various sects, while the other group was young men in purple robes. There were about 500 or 600 of these young men. Each of these young men was extremely arrogant. Among these hundreds of people, the young man in white who was the leader was even more restrained, and it was hard to tell how high his realm was, but Lu Xuan was sure that the strength of the young man in white must be extremely strong. Because the aura of the young man in white was too strong. These groups of people seemed to be a group of geniuses. It seemed that they also saw the Skyfire Tree, but the Skyfire Tree was not obtained by other forces. Lu Xuan frowned slightly. Chapter 214 Only here. Li Yunlang is Li Yunpeng's eldest son and Li Yunfa is second brother. These people are extremely powerful. They are all the most outstanding talents in the major sects. Most of the people who came to participate in the trial of Xianhuo Mountain this time were from independent people or small sects. Therefore, under the situation of absolute advantage in numbers, those large sects will not be afraid of any small sects at all. You are just a group of independent people, and you dare to snatch my Xianhuo wood. You are simply ignorant. Do you want to provoke everyone? I admit that you are very powerful, and even among you, there are genius level geniuses, but you don't know how high the sky is, and how thick the earth is. If you offend our Li family, you will be doomed, Li Yunfei said with a sneer in his opinion. After these people said this, they would definitely be able to intimidate the other party and let them go away obediently. However, as soon as Li Yunfei finished speaking, a cold voice came out, and then a tall, dark-skinned young man walked out of the crowd. Boy, who do you think you are? You actually want to be our enemy? Don't you know how high the sky is, and how thick the earth is? Li Yunfei glanced at the young man coldly. Boy, I'll give you another chance. If you kneel down and kowtow to me now to apologize, I can forgive you. Otherwise, I promise that today, I will make you live a miserable life. Li Yunfei looked at Lu Xuan. He wanted to scare Lu Xuan away by threatening him. However, Lu Xuan didn't show any fear at all. Instead, he sneered and said, "Oh, you mean you want me to kneel down and beg for mercy? Well, if you really have this ability, then let you show it. I want to see how powerful you are. You dare to show off in front of me." Lu Xuan looked at Li Yunfei coldly. He was extremely angry. Originally, he wanted to go to the Xianhuo mountains to search for treasures. As a result, he encountered such a thing. Lu Xuan felt that his luck was really bad. He was intercepted here without even seeing a Xianhuo tree. This is really a very depressing thing. Since you don't want to drink the wine, don't blame us for being rude. Let's do it. Ji Yunfei shouted. Then, he led the young men around him to rush towards Lu Xuan. Rumble. Chapter 215 Unbelievable. Li Yunfei roared in disbelief. Although Li Yunfei's attack was very powerful, however, Lu Xuan's defense was also extremely terrifying. His physical defense reached 80 to 90 million dragon elephant power. How many dragon elephant powers are this terrifying power? Li Yunfei's sword moves were nothing but small dishes in front of Lu Xuan. The heavenly fire sword art is a lower grade heavenly sword art with good power. You do have some skills, but that's all, Lu Xuan said indifferently. Now, it's time for you to kowtow and apologize to me. Humph. Li Yunfei snorted coldly, and he said, "You want me, Li Yunfei, to kowtow and apologize to you? Dream. No matter who you are, today, I must kill you." Li Yunfei shouted angrily, and he activated the heavenly fire sword art again. And the rest of the people also activated their weapons. Then a series of sword lights burst out. The sword lights were so dense that they looked like stars, covering the sun in the sky, and turning the whole world into a dark place. Those terrifying sword lights, they fiercely bombarded Lu Xuan's body. Bang. Bang. Bang, accompanied by the violent explosions. Lu Xuan's body was actually shaken back and forth. What? How could this happen? Seeing this scene, Li Yunfei and others showed surprised expressions on their faces. Li Yunfei and others really couldn't figure it out. How strong was Lu Xuan's body? It could withstand their attacks. Not only Li Yunfei and others, but the rest of the people were also shocked. Among these people, Li Yunfei's attack was definitely very powerful. It can be said. Chapter 216. Uncertain weather. What kind of magic is this? Seeing this scene, Li Yunfei couldn't help showing a look of shock on his face, and his face was full of disbelief. Lu Xuan ignored the stunned Li Yunfei and others. His eyes flashed with a cold light, his body moved quickly, and kept shuttling through the gaps of the sword nets. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In the blink of an eye, he broke through the wrapping of the sword nets. At this time, Lu Xuan's fist had already hit Li Yunfei's chest. Crack. Crisp sound of bone fracture resounded through the world. Li Yunfei directly spurted out blood, and then fell to the ground from midair. What? Oh my god, was senior brotherly defeated? Is that guy a monster? After seeing this scene, the people around were stunned, especially the female students. They are all a group of young girls now. After seeing a guy who was much younger than them knock Li Yunfei away with one punch, the girls almost screamed out. After Li Yunfei was knocked away, they were naturally not much better off. They fell to the ground one by one, and rolled twice. Lu Xuan did not stay any longer. Instead, he walked towards Li Yunfei. He wanted to capture Li Yunfei and then take him to the holy church. Run. Seeing Lu Xuan's aggressive appearance, the other young men shouted immediately. Run. Where else can you run to? Lu Xuan looked at these people coldly. Then he rushed towards the nearest young man. At this time, the young man showed an extremely horrified expression on his face, and then he quickly sacrificed a rune totem. Suppress. With the young man's roar, the rune totem that suppressed Lu Xuan instantly formed an extremely huge mountain, suppressing Lu Xuan. Lu Xuan snorted coldly, and his right fist smashed directly on the mountain. Boom boom. Instantly. The mountain was smashed to pieces. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 217, Treasure of Inheritance. Lu Xuan said with a smile, "What if you tell the Holy Church? Do you think the Holy Church can avenge me? If they can really avenge me, I will be relieved. Then, you can go and tell the secret. I don't care anyway." Lu Xuan said with a smile. After hearing Lu Xuan's words, Li Yunfei's face became uncertain. Lu Xuan, don't be complacent, I tell you. I remember today's humiliation. One day, I will return it with 0050. Li Yunfei said with gritted teeth. Lu Xuan pouted. He looked like he didn't want to pay attention to Li Yunfei. Then Lu Xuan looked at Li Yunfei and said, "If you don't have anything to do, get out quickly. I still have things to do now, Kr." Li Yunfei's face suddenly became extremely ugly. But he didn't dare to fight with Lu Xuan. Because he witnessed Lu Xuan's power with his own eyes in the previous attack. So he deeply understood that he was not Lu Xuan's opponent. Although Lu Xuan's realm is more than one level lower than Li Yunfei's, Lu Xuan's power is not comparable to that of ordinary people. Li Yunfei and those people left in disgrace, but their eyes were full of resentment. Looking at the backs of the people fleeing in a panic, Lu Xuan couldn't help shaking his head and smiling bitterly. "Ah, what a bunch of trash." Then Lu Xuan looked at Sumire beside Lu Xuan and said, "Mia, I think I have to leave here. These people are disciples of the Holy Church. Once their companions find out that I'm missing, they will definitely come to hunt me down. You should take your sisters back first. I will come back to meet you after they leave." Sumire heard this and asked worriedly, "Lu Xuan, are you here alone? I still have some things to deal with." "Don't worry, there is no danger. You don't have to worry." Lu Xuan comforted. Sumire nodded and said, "Okay, be careful." "Yes. By the way, I forgot to ask, your name is Lu Xuan? When were you born? What do your parents do?" Sumire suddenly thought of a question. "My parents." Lu Xuan thought of his father and fell into silence. "By the way, he is my brother, named Lu Xuan." Chapter 218, Seeking Asylum. Haha. Let's not talk about this anymore. I'll go take care of my business first. Be careful, be careful. We'll separate first, Xuan said and turned to leave. Not long after Lu Xuan left, Li Yunfei came back with his men. After seeing Lu Xuan leave, he immediately took his men to look for Lu Xuan. However, they could not find any trace of Lu Xuan. Could this guy have left here? Li Yunfei frowned slightly. No, since he dared to come to the auction, he would not leave. Moreover, with his speed of 21, it is impossible for him to leave in such a short time, so he is very likely still hiding here. Maybe we have been exposed. Li Yunfei frowned, thought for a moment, and then ordered the people around him, "Everyone search. Don't leave a single person alive." Yes, after those people agreed, they scattered around and began to search carefully. However, what made Li Yunfei and others depressed was that they searched here for nearly half a day and didn't find any trace of Lu Xuan. Could this guy have disappeared? Li Yunfei frowned and muttered to himself, with a trace of solemnity in his eyes. But soon, Li Yunfei thought of a waypoint, so he ordered the rest of the people to retreat. You guys, take the communication jade slips on your body and keep in touch at any time. In addition, you go and notify the top leaders of the Holy Church and ask them to send some strong people over. I don't believe that with so many of us, we can't catch a little Lu Xuan. Chapter 219, The Figure of a Master. My name is Sumire, and I'm the young lady of the Chen family. Lead the way and take me to the Chen mansion. Sumire looked at the guard and said indifferently. Yes, young lady. the guard said hurriedly, and then led Lu Xuan and Sumelia to the Chen mansion where Chen Hongaiu lived. The Chen mansion was not far from the restaurant where Lu Xuan lived. It took only a moment for Lu Xuan to arrive at the Chen mansion. Under the guidance of the guard, the two came to the outside of the courtyard where Chen Hongaiu lived. Master, the young master is back. After seeing Lu Xuan, the guard bowed and reported to Chen Hongaiu. Well, let him in. Chen Hongaiu was sitting at the table in the hall drinking tea. After Lu Xuan walked into the Chen mansion, he went straight to the room where Chen Hongaiu was. When Lu Xuan pushed the door and walked into the room, Chen Hongaiu was drinking tea. Hongaiu, I came here this time because I need your help with a very important matter, so I came to discuss with you, Lu Xuan said hurriedly. After seeing Chen Hongaiu. Hearing Lu Xuan's words, Chen Hongaiu put down the teacup, looked at Lu Xuan, smiled and said, sir, you say it. As long as it is within my ability, I will definitely do my best. That's good. Lu Xuan couldn't help but sighed. Sir, please sit down first. Chen Hongaiu pointed to the place beside him and asked Lu Xuan to sit down and talk. Lu Xuan nodded and walked to a chair and sat down. Hongaiu, I plan to let you take the people of the Holy Church to look for me. Lu Xuan looked at Chen Hongaiu and said solemnly. What? Let me take people to look for you? Are you sure you are not kidding again? Chen Hongaiu heard the words and sighed. Obviously, Chen Hongaiu felt very incredible about what Lu Xuan said, as if he had heard it wrong. Of course it's true. Lu Xuan smiled and said, all this is true. Chapter 220. I feel very guilty. After Chen Hongaiu left, Lu Xuan let out a long breath. In the following time, Lu Xuan began to close his eyes and rest. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. During these 3 days, the figures of the Saint Church Masters kept appearing in Lu Xuan's mind. Chen Hongaiu, Li Hongaiu, Yang Hongaiu. These people should also be my friends, right? Lu Xuan guessed in his heart. Lu Xuan. Just then, a burst of hurried footsteps came from the door. After hearing the sound, Lu Xuan opened his eyes and looked outside. When he saw who entered the room, Lu Xuan was immediately excited. Brother Lin, I finally waited for you. At this time, a man in a blue robe 647 hurried in from outside. The blue-robed man at this moment was none other than Lu Xuan's fellow villager, the Saint King Realm powerhouse Liang Bing. After seeing Lu Xuan standing in front of him safely, Liang Bing couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Brother Lin, thank you for saving my life. Liang Bing came to Lu Xuan and knelt down respectfully. Liang Bing is a master of the Holy King Realm of the Holy Church. In the entire Xianling domain, he is considered to be the top existence. Now, he actually knelt down to Lu Xuan. Obviously he has great respect for Lu Xuan. Chapter 221 Lifesaver. Sorry, Lu Xuan apologized quickly. Hearing Lu Xuan's words, Liang Bing waved his hand. Don't blame you. No matter what, you are my savior. If it weren't for you, I think our family would have been wiped out long ago. Brother Lin, what are your plans? I'm going to go to the holy city in the southern continent to see my friends. I wonder if Brother Lin is willing to go with me? Of course. Lu Xuan agreed without hesitation. Hearing Lu Xuan's agreement, Liang Bing's face suddenly showed an excited expression. In this case, let's go. Brother Lin, why don't I help you change your appearance first? After I change your appearance to mine, let my grandfather take over. Well, let's go now. Lu Xuan nodded. Then, Liang Bing took out a long disguise. Brother Lin, this disguise card contains a hidden magic talisman. Let's stick it on our bodies now to avoid being recognized. After saying that, Liang Bing took out a few disguise magic stones from his arms and stuck them on Lu Xuan's body. After doing all this, Liang Bing said to Lu Xuan, Brother Lin, I'm ready. Let's go now. Okay, let's go now. After hearing Liang Bing's words, Lu Xuan nodded, and the two of them immediately left the inn and walked away. Along the way, Lu Xuan did not encounter any obstacles. After all, Lu Xuan possessed the mysterious power of space, and even the masters of the Saint Realm could not detect his whereabouts, let alone others. Soon, Lu Xuan and the others arrived in front of a castle-like building. This castle is the station of the Holy Church and the location of the Liang family. named Lanyun Pavilion. Looking at the majestic building in front of him, Lu Xuan couldn't help but sigh. This is where your family is located. It's really a majestic abbot. This castle is a treasure of our family. Brother Lin, you hide for a while. Lan Xuan said to Lu. Okay, I won't bother you anymore. I'll say goodbye first. Lu Xuan smiled and turned to walk into a small alley on the side. Lu Xuan didn't stay here for too long and soon disappeared from everyone's sight. Chapter 222, Guardian of the Master. Don't worry, Master Lan. Who is your enemy? Is it the Chen family? Lu Xuan is not stupid and guessed the whole thing right away. That's right. It's the Chen family. Lan Xuan gritted his teeth and said, Chen family. Then I was worried about how to deal with him, but now I can save a lot of trouble. Okay, I'll go to the doctor right away. Hearing Lan Xuan's words, Lu Xuan also understood that his plan to deal with the Chen family would have to be suspended for a while. Moreover, Lu Xuan also planned to take action at the Chen family. Okay, then I'll trouble Master Lan. Lu Xuan clasped his fists and bowed. Don't be so polite. If Brother Lin needs it in the future, just speak up, Lan Xuan said. Okay, hearing Lan Xuan's words, Lu Xuan did not refuse again and turned around and left. Lu Xuan did not go to the Chen family to make trouble, and Lan Xuan was naturally relieved. After all, the Chen family is the largest family in the entire East Wilderness Holy Land. If Lu Xuan and the Chen family are enemies, he will also be implicated. Let's go, Lan Xuan. Let's go to the interior of the holy city first. When we get there, I will naturally have a way to lead the ancestors of the Chen family there and make them retreat in the face of difficulties, Lu Xuan said to Lan Xuan. Lan Xuan was also stunned when he heard Lu Xuan's words. He didn't expect that Lu Xuan could actually invite the ancestors of the Chen family out directly. Even the Saint Venerables couldn't invite the ancestors of the Chen family out. Lu Xuan is only at the Saint Master level. How could he invite the ancestors of the Chen family out? Thinking of this, Lan Xuan couldn't help but ask curiously, Brother Lin, are you sure? Yes, well, I believe that Brother Lin, you can do it. Chapter 223, Cold Smiles. Seeing this, Lu Xuan was too lazy to talk nonsense, but stretched out his right palm, grabbed the guard's neck, and crushed it alive. Then, Lu Xuan walked directly to the city lord's mansion. Who? How dare you trespass into the holy city? Don't you want to live? At this time, a majestic voice resounded throughout the holy city, and then, a ray of light flashed, and an old man in gorgeous armor emerged out of thin air and appeared in front of Lu Xuan. Seeing this scene, Lu Yao couldn't help but smile bitterly. Unexpectedly, there are such masters guarding the holy city. Your Excellency, 21 is the head of the Chen family, right? Lu Xuan looked at the old man in armor calmly and said. Hearing Lu Xuan's words, Chen Yuanshan was stunned. In his opinion, Lu Xuan must not be an ordinary immortal, but a strong man with a background. Otherwise, how could he dare to run directly to him? Chen Yuanshan. Who are you? Why do you know the name of my Chen family? Chen Yuanshan asked in a somewhat unfriendly tone. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 224, Smooth Progress. Hearing this, Lu Xuan sneered. Yes, I can't enter your Chen family, but I can use other methods. Speaking of this, Lu Xuan directly took out a white jade token and handed it to Chen Yuanshan. What is this? After taking the white jade token handed over by Lu Xuan, Chen Yuanshan couldn't help but ask in confusion. Master Chen, might as well take a look. This token records the detailed information of your Chen family. After reading it, you will naturally know my purpose. Hearing this, Chen Yuanshan was stunned for a moment, and then he directly opened the white jade token in his hand and carefully checked it. After seeing the detailed information in the white jade token, Chen Yuanshan immediately took a breath of cold air. How is this possible? Lu Xuan actually has such a terrifying strength. Haha, this is the strength that Lu Xuan has. If you change to see it, I'm afraid it will be more shocking. Lu Xuan smiled slightly and then continued, and I have a more important news to tell you. What news? Hearing Lu Xuan's words, Chen Yuanshan immediately asked curiously, point the newses, I want to know, is your Chen family in close contact with the demon cult? This is impossible. You absolutely cannot know, unless you are a member of the demon cult. But even if you are really a member of the demon cult, you cannot know that this news is the secret of our Chen family. Otherwise, how could the demon cult allow you to get this news? Chapter 225. The sound of rustling. Seeing Lu Xuan suddenly appear beside him, Chen Yuanshan couldn't help but show a look of surprise on his face. Point bang, a strong gust of wind blew in his face, making Chen Yuanshan's clothes rustle, as if to blow him away. Point, you force me to do this. Seeing Lu Xuan punching at him, Chen Yuanshan's face became extremely ugly, and he gritted his teeth and said, point, Lu Xuan's attack was indeed too fast, so Chen Yuanshan couldn't dodge it at all. Point, however, at this moment, a layer of light golden spiritual energy barrier suddenly appeared on Chen Yuanshan's body. Point, boom, Lu Xuan's punch hit Chen Yuanshan's chest heavily. Point, with a loud bang, Chen Yuanshan's body was hit thousands of meters away by Lu Xuan's punch and fell heavily to the ground. Point, under Chen Yuanshan, a deep gully was left. Point, wow, a mouthful of blood spurted out, and Chen Yuanshan's face became as pale as paper. Obviously, Lu Xuan's punch just now injured him seriously. Point, seeing Chen Yuanshan vomiting blood, the guards of the Chen family immediately ran over and helped Chen Yuanshan up. Point, Master Chen, are you okay? Hearing the words of the guards, Chen Yuanshan shook his head. Point, however, his eyes were always on Lu Xuan, with a strong hatred in his eyes. You, point, good boy. I, Chen Yuanshan, will remember today's grudge. There is a long way to go. Let's go. Point, after saying that, Chen Yuanshan flicked his sleeves and turned away. Point, seeing this, a strange light flashed in Lu Xuan's eyes. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.